Everyone is on listen only mode. We'll be opening up the microphones for question and answer period at the end of the presentation, but please feel free to drop question and answers into the Q&A box, which should be on the right-hand side of your screen during the presentation, and we'll try to address those as they come in. Also want to mention that after the program is completed, usually within a week or so, you'll be sent a survey from the U.S. Commercial Service. If you can please respond to this short request, we would appreciate it because it really does help us to develop future educational programming for you and the other exporters throughout the state. So it's important for us to hear from you. Also want to mention that tomorrow I will be sending out the recording as well as a copy of Amy's slide deck so that you have that for your review. And also would like to mention that the views and opinions expressed in the presentation may not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the U.S. government. And now I'd like to introduce to you Amy Bosco. She is the Director of Global Business Development at Beakley Medical, based in Bristol, Connecticut. Beakley Medical is a small manufacturing company that produces high quality Class 1 disposable medical products to improve patient care and safety for women's health, MRI, CT, radiation oncology, and aromatherapy. She's in charge of growing exports, and she's really good at it. And she's currently working with 70 partners across the globe. She has been with Beakley Medical for almost 22 years, excelling at numerous positions. She was then promoted to healthcare sales operations and negotiated GPO agreements at an executive level. In 2014, she took over the global portion of the business. Amy has earned the President's E Award in 2018 after demonstrating significant growth of exports. She earned the Small Business Administration's Exporter of the Year Award in 2019 for the state of Connecticut. She was appointed to the District Export Council in January of 2020 by the Secretary of Commerce for a 4-year term. She was awarded the President's E-Star Award in July of this year. Despite the pandemic, she's been able to grow exports from 2018 through 2021 at a record-breaking performance level. She earned her Bachelor of Business degree at Albertus Magnus and was inducted into Chi Pi Phi. She earned her Master's in Business Management with a concentration in Healthcare Sales Management and was inducted into Sigma Beta Delta. So Amy, again, thank you so much for taking the time to share your expertise with everybody on this call.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. And welcome, everyone. Okay, so today we're talking about managing, motivating, and inspiring your distributor network. So a little bit about the growth that we've experienced. We had double-digit growth at Beakley since 2015, with the exception of 2020, which was obviously the height of COVID. And I'm really proud to say, even despite the pandemic, we were able to grow exports 4% that year. And then pre-COVID, 12%, 11%, 10% respectively. And post-COVID, 11%. And we're on track for another record-breaking performance this year in 2022. We brought on 34 new distributors since 2014 and earned the President's E Award in 2018. We exported into 19 new markets after 2018 and earned the President's E-Star Award in 2022. And then since January of 2022, we've exported into 8 new markets. So obviously, I'm not going to go through all of what Jackie just went through, but yeah, November is going to be my 22 anniversary at Beakley. I started out in sales, and the title was teleteacher. And the reason it's called teleteacher is because we were teaching hospitals, and back then a lot of people were not using professional markers. They didn't even have one because we hadn't come out with a professional product since 1985, and then we kept adding to the products from innovators in the industry that wanted solutions. So we kept adding and adding. And my job was to teach people the solutions that our products provided. And I really believed in it and still do to this day. And I feel that that's what also helps to make you successful if you really believe in that mission and the missionary selling aspect. So I went from a team leader to sales manager, senior sales manager, and then to healthcare sales operations. And then my boss presented me an opportunity to take on global in March of 2014. And I said, well, sure. I always like a new opportunity. I had a proven track record of growing growth within the company from all my different roles. So then I didn't waste any time. I met with Melissa Grasso in April of 2014, and the rest is history. So Melissa was really so helpful for me. This was so new. I didn't have any experience in international. So she helped me navigate uncharted territories and learning about how to expand overseas, the cultural differences, which I also got to kind of learn going physically out to different countries over the years, and the regulatory challenges, which there are many. The U.S. Commercial Service has been so instrumental in growing global. And I'm not going to repeat all the awards because we already went through that. They provide me with Gold Key partner searches along with international partner searches, which I have used countless times over the years, which has helped me expand into new markets. The other big thing is the U.S. Department of Commerce has helped us secure thousands of dollars in STEP grants over the years. And as a small business, we really needed it because in the beginning, I didn't have much of a budget. So getting that extra money helped me to go to trade shows and present our product and get out there. So I'm really thankful for the STEP grants. And I believe we'll be eligible for a new one. It's October. So October is the month that they start the new year. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some strategies that I've used to grow the exports. So obviously, things have changed since COVID, but I'll be getting back out there. I'm planning to get back out in 2023, but definitely having an on-site presence at my local distributor trade shows and going physically to the hospital visits really helped to educate my partners. And I would be able to do training right after the hospital visit. So we would have a hospital visit. I would be there. I would also, do a presentation as well. And then afterwards, I could give constructive feedback to the salesperson. So I really enjoyed doing that. And then also when I was at the trade shows at the local level, I was able to not only help, demonstrate the product, but to help train them at the same time. And then we've done translations of our catalog and marketing support pieces in various languages over the years. We do what's called onboarding. So when we have a new partner, we bring them in, we bring them on rather to help them understand all the support that we provide. I'm going to get into a little bit more detail later, but we have various case studies, videos, white papers, complimentary samples that we provide. So we're really there to support our partners. And then every quarter I look at who are the high performers for that quarter. And I take time to do handwritten notes. So I physically buy cards, congratulatory cards, and I send them out. And I've really gotten a lot of positive feedback. People will send me emails or text me, or I've even gotten some handwritten notes back myself. Because it's so rare. I mean, if you think about it, how often do you get like a handwritten note? It's not something that people are doing, nowadays. It's kind of old fashioned, and people do appreciate it. So here is a picture of the conference that we did we did it in October for many years. This was a JFR conference, and you can see that we translated. If you look, obviously, mammography is in English is not spelled that way, and neither would be MRI or CAT scan's actually the same, but you can see that was translated into French. And then I had a smaller conference, but it was still actually a really good conference. This one was in Croatia, and they have tripled their sales since I went out there and did the training. So a little bit more about the onboarding process. So when we bring in a new partner, it's really exciting, but you have to realize too, it's a significant time commitment from both parties. So, you're bringing somebody in, you got to train them on all the products, and then they have to in turn, train their team. And you have to realize, and I put this at the bottom, but if you look down at the bottom, you have to realize that your product is only one part of their portfolio. So you want to get your product up there. So the more support and training that you provide is going to elevate your company, and the relationship building is so key. It's really so important to have that strong relationship through the onboarding process and beyond. So once somebody is interested in becoming a distributor, they fill out a application, and within the application, they have to put a business plan in place. And so when that is done and we're ready to rock and roll, we walk them through all that support that we can provide. We have product managers for all our products and a lot of collateral pieces. Sometimes we'll split the cost of advertisements. We've done journal ads, the trade shows, and like I said, the collateral support really is instrumental too, because we have a lot of information that is going to help their sales team and then ultimately the end users.
And Amy, before you go on, can you tell me a
Sure.
little bit more about for the onboarding process and the business plan that you request from the distributors? Can you tell me a little bit more about, what expectations that you set with them and,
Sure.
how you work through that process with them?
Sure. So we want to know, first of all, how many salespeople they have, how many salespeople are going to be dedicated specifically to Beakly, how many hours and visits to the hospitals are they committing to every week or every month? What trade shows are they going to commit to? The advertising, what are they committing to? So we definitely are looking for commitment, and that's a big part of the approval process.
Gotcha. And do you, do you require like any minimum sales during the first year, or, how do you handle that?
No, not for the first year, because that's getting them up and running. But we do look to grow the business. It's actually something, and I'll be talking about my work with Zach, but something that we're introducing now is people under a certain threshold of their sales that we want them to increase that amount. And if we can't get that commitment, we may replace them with a different distributor. So that's something that I'm actually working on now currently.
Great. Thank you.
You've got it. So the other thing that we do is every week we send out a newsletter, and we alternate that between sharing technical blogs and sales tips. So every week they're getting something. And again, I think that helps to keep Beakly on the radar. In August of last year, we hired a global sales mentor, Zach Selch, to help accelerate growth. So we were already growing double digits. The president of my company had given me a book named Global Sales, and it was written by Zach. And so after reading that, I saw, wow, there's definitely opportunity that we can kind of firm things up and get some processes in place that I hadn't originally had thought of. And so that's been great to grow the business and to get our distributors to start selling maybe other products that they're not currently selling. So that's another thing that I'm working on right now. We also created a monthly hour mastermind meeting, and that consists of a half an hour of technical training and a half an hour of coaching and inspiration. So our director of training goes through a product and the application of that product. And then Zach does a half an hour of coaching and inspiration. And those meetings, we've been getting a really good following of them. Obviously, with the time zones, not everyone's able to hop on, but we record them just like we're recording this, and people are able to access it later. And then what's really exciting and cool is we're in the process of creating Kajabi platform to create more engagement. So there's different platforms out there, but this one was recommended by Zach, and then I met with the IT department, and they validated that Kajabi really is the best platform. So we're in process right now. We hope to kick it off maybe in a month from now, but we're going to be taking those training sessions and those recordings and putting it on there. We're going to have the onboarding, some of the information on the onboarding where people can go through the onboarding process and then get a certificate of completion. You can do different surveys and quizzes on there. So it's really going to be exciting to have that access for all of our distributors. So strategies during the pandemic. So boy, the world was turned upside down. I was so used to, doing the face-to-face. I traveled probably 8 times a year, I want to say, before the pandemic. So we had to change it up just like everybody. So virtual meetings happened instead of the face-to-face. And also, one of the things that I wanted to do was on a personal level, increase the relationships with my people because it was a scary time for everyone. So I was already a high touch communication type of person, but a lot of my people that I work with, I have their cell phones. So, I would text them, check to see how they're doing, how their family's doing, how their community's doing. Also, we would connect on LinkedIn or through just regular email. But I really wanted to, make sure everyone was safe. And, it was a scary time for some specifically hard hit countries. So that was something that I did during COVID. Also, I focus on products that help to minimize the risk of COVID contamination. So, as Jackie said, all of our products are class 1. They're disposable products, but there were a couple of products that really could help the hospital during that time. And so we did different email blasts, we did direct mail pieces on those products, and really promoted those products during the height of the pandemic. And to this day, still people, we're still, I don't think, completely out of the woods. I know, people are still getting tested positive, but that is something that really helped, was focusing on those particular products. And then something that I wanted to do was, we already recognize one distributor a year for the Global Partner of the Year, but we created the Global Marketer of the Year. And that specifically recognized innovation during the pandemic. So I'm going to talk a little bit more in detail on that. So I created that award in July of 2020 because obviously the year brought on a very unique set of challenges and opportunities. So conducting business as usual had a very different feel, and new strategies have been implemented to connect with our customers differently. So the criteria for qualifying for that award to get results through creative marketing that generates an increase in spend as it relates specifically to the Beakley Medical portfolio. This can include virtual conferencing, webinars, email communication, use of social media, outreach that promotes Beakley Medical solutions, introducing a new innovative market approach, business development, and strategic planning. I know it's a lot, but it was something that generated excitement and competition amongst our business partners to want to get that award. And here is our last year's winner of the award. This is Roy from MIT Medical in Israel. And you can see our products are displayed there, and he's proudly holding the award. Something else I created was new milestone awards. So if somebody hit a new milestone, like $100,000 annually, 200,000, 300,000, 400,000, and 500,000, which we actually had somebody win that last year. So it was the first time somebody hit that $500,000 mark. they would get recognized with an award. And then here's Annette from Scanflex in Sweden, and that's our annual Global Partner of the Year award. She's very happy. She actually got some balloons you can see in the background, and she's smiling and so proud of winning that award. And it's fun
Sweet.
too. It's fun because during the last mastermind, our distributor from Croatia was in the chat chatting that he's like, I'm gonna get I win the next award, and then he sent me an email after. He's like, how many boxes annually are people selling to get the award? So like the motivation's really there.
Yeah,
Go
I
ahead,
think that's
Jackie.
really interesting. That's what I was going to ask you about. You had mentioned, that creating these awards has created, a fun competition, obviously, because they're all in different markets. So it's not,
Yeah,
it's not as if they're competing against each other.
they're not. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
So I think
It's
that's really interesting. And I think the other thing I wanted to point out to people is that, the awards that you've selected, the physical award itself, they look very high quality and substantial, so that I think when people receive them, it it further, proves how important this achievement was, because of that value.
Absolutely. Yeah, we definitely, invested, the money and put it in the budget, have it in the budget every year. And yeah, they're definitely not cheap awards. They're high quality, really nice. And they're very heavy too. um,
And
so
can you
go
tell a
ahead.
little bit about the process that you use in selecting? Is it just straight numbers, or are there, obviously there was the one about marketing, that's a different, kind of a different award, but
Sure.
maybe you can give a
Sure.
little insight into how, how you're, what
Yep.
you do to select them.
Yep. So the Global Partner of the Year award is definitely on numbers specifically. So I'm looking at the growth that they've done over the previous year, and also how much they promote Beakly. Like, so I look at their website, how visible is Beakly on there? Trade shows, have they been promoting Beakly in the trade shows? Oftentimes, my partners go have their trade shows, they'll send me pictures. What types of promotions are they doing, and outreach that they're doing specifically for Beakley's products. And then for the marketer of the year, they do have to submit an application. So they have to talk about what different innovations that they've done, what different outreach that they've done, how they've been engaging with their customers differently as a result of COVID, because it was during the pandemic. But I am going to continue that award. We're going to keep both awards moving forward.
Oh, wonderful. So,
Okay, so yeah, we're down to the end. That was quicker than I had anticipated. We're at 12:26, so opening it up
that's all
to
right. Because
to
there's some extra time for questions, because I was thinking, you were mentioning at the beginning of the program, that there is an obvious time commitment that you have to take as the motivator, of this distributor network. And I was wondering if you could, talk a little bit about, how much time you think you spend weekly or monthly really developing these relationships and taking all of these different aspects, your onboarding process, because there's a lot involved with that. And I think it's important for people to know, you know, how you manage your time and how you're able to, accomplish all of these different aspects of your program.
That's a great question. So yeah, I would say it's probably about 75% of my time. It started obviously with the the last couple of years with the growth, just getting to a point that I needed some help administratively, because I'm really kind of like a one person show. I mean, I have the support of my customer service team and regulatory and the mail room that sends the samples. I have graphics, so it's not just me, but it really is me in terms of the one point of contact with everybody. So I'm the one doing, the motivation. I was the one doing most of the training, and then Recently, we brought on our director of training to take on more of a role, and then again hiring Zach. He's been doing, some of the inspiration and coaching during the mastermind. He's also, fortunately for me, because I'm not able to travel right now due to restrictions that my doctors put me on for not getting exposed to the COVID. So he is going to various trade shows like Medica, RSNA, Arab Health. He went down to Brazil. Oh, I wanted to talk a little bit about that too. Brazil and Chile. Chile was a new distributor that you at the U.S. Commercial Service, Jackie, you helped personally us vet. We had 3 distributors and we interviewed them and we found the perfect match. And we are going to be training their 3 salespeople, and they need their training in Spanish. So you were kind enough to get me in contact with translation services that can help with that. And then Zach had gone to Hospitalar in Brazil and met with our distributor who's selling mammography, but not in any of our other products within the portfolio. And their sales are really quite high. They order about 700 boxes a month of mammography, but nothing else. So he was able to meet with the president and get commitment for one salesperson to dedicate 1 day a week to sell the radiation oncology. So going into the hospitals that they go into now for mammography, what we call is door crossing. So going into another department. So we are flying down our director of training, who we are going to have accompanied with a translator because they speak Portuguese and our trainer does not. So, again, you've been helpful with providing us that information. But sorry to sidebar, but I wanted to make sure I got that in because that's something that's a time commitment. So we're talking, several hours of training. But yeah, I was able to get some help at work with administrative to take some of that off of my plate. The contract piece that I do still takes a lot of my time in terms of renewing the contracts and kind of chasing people down because nobody usually sends the contract back the first pass. It sometimes takes 3 or 4 times. So that's another thing that takes time is renewing those agreements. But yeah, I would say yes, about 75% of my role is communicating back and forth. And even last night, we had a couple of people. I wanted to know who's going to Medica, so that they can meet with Zach. And we have a couple of distributors that have already signed up to meet with him next month. It's going to be. I can't believe it's already going to be November. So yeah, and that takes time too. And I wanted to also talk about one of the things that's helped me grow during the pandemic was as much as I love traveling and meeting people face to face, I've improved my productivity because I'm not, I live in Connecticut. So it's either Boston or JFK. So you're talking 3 hours you have to plan
Right.
because of traffic. And then you have to be at the airport 2 or 3 hours in advance. Then you're doing double duty. Once you get there, you're dealing with a time zone difference and you're trying to keep up with, communications with your customers and everything that they need. So I've noticed that since I haven't been traveling, I have improved my productivity, and I'm also working remotely, so I'm not driving into work either, which saves me time. So I just wanted to comment on that because I think that's changed a lot for a lot of us now that we're more in a virtual world.
Right. So we do have a question that came in, Amy, and it's, do you have any tips for finding new dealers in new territories?
Yes, the U.S. Commercial Service.
Thank you. And I
Yeah.
swear I didn't come up with that question.
No, I know. Right now you guys are looking actually into the market into Mexico. So I'm using the U.S. Commercial Service actively right now. But yeah, definitely. they're a great resource.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. And then question for you. We were talking about the pandemic, and obviously, as you said, everybody had to pivot during the pandemic, and you did that, and I think you really took advantage of that because I think a lot of people may not have necessarily been as proactive as you were, and so I think you set a great example for that. I'm just curious, have you in Beakley had to deal with any supply chain issues and costs of materials going up, and how maybe has that impacted your relationships with these partners and their ability to sell the product?
Yeah, great question. Yeah, so unfortunately, and I think we're all dealing with it, and we're seeing even at the grocery stores, a personal level, the inflation and then supply chain management that, you can't get, for a while people couldn't get baby formula and you couldn't get certain items at the grocery store. We were dealing, luckily for us, we always say our products are in stock and ready to ship. We did have one specific product that we were starting to run low on, but we were able to get that figured out. So luckily our shortage of products didn't happen, but the cost of the products went up, between shipping and the cost of materials, the raw products. And so we were absorbing the expense for a while, during the pandemic. But then we needed to pass some of that increase on to our partners, and not just internationally, but domestically as well. So we had to implement a price increase at the beginning of this year. And, we tried to make it, feasible. We didn't want to pass everything on, but contracts that I had in place, we have, the opportunity to have a 90-day clause in there that, we can adjust the pricing if need be. And this is the first time that I've ever had to go in and adjust those and do addendums to agreements. But none of my distributors took issue with it. They all understand it because many other countries are dealing with it. I know, especially the UK. But that's something that we had to do. We had no choice.
Right. Yeah, no, I understand that. So I had another question come in.
Okay.
It's a great question. How do you manage pricing between high cost markets and low cost? Example, European markets versus markets in Latin America. And do you worry about, cross-border sales?
So, so I'm thinking of Brazil specifically. They their landed cost is a lot more than a European market because of their taxes and the fees that go into getting that product over there. So their pricing is a little bit lower, not substantially, but a little bit lower than the markets in Europe. But other than them, and we don't have a lot. Latin America is actually one of the markets that, Chile, for example, we just brought on, but we are trying to grow that area. So I'll address it as it comes. But our pricing, for the most part, is pretty stable across all of the markets.
Okay. Yeah, and I was wondering if that, do you find, with the foreign exchange rates, and as you said, the tariffs, for people who aren't currently operating in Brazil, they have about, I think it's like 9 line items of tariffs on
Sure.
products when they're coming through the border.
Yep.
And so, with that, do you have a strategy where you have, the importer is paying the tariffs and those fees on import, or are you building that in? Are you building those costs into the sales price of the product so it has a different perception when it's going through the border and
Right.
the buyers making
Yep.
the
Good.
purchase?
Good question. So yeah, we price our product where we allow a pretty good margin for them to have some profitability, because otherwise they're not going to want to sell our product. But we don't, we factor in the fact that there has to be that room for margin for the tariffs, the VATs, that they have to pay. But the way that we establish that pricing is we give room, you know, we tell them what price they have to sell at, but we give them a suggested retail price. But we also, like I said, we give them wiggle room where they're going to be able to have a profit, be able to pay for the shipping and the tariffs and all of that, and still be able to, you know, make money and pay their sales team. So
Right.
yeah.
Then another question has come in. If if you're currently selling to any countries in Africa, specifically Nigeria, and do you have any insights in how you navigate the African market?
So we have a distributor in Kenya, but not Nigeria, and we have one distributor in South Africa. The one in Kenya, actually, Melissa Grasso had introduced me to. That was back, oh my God, I feel like 6 years ago. So she introduced me to the person that was in charge of the embassy, I believe, and then he gave me the contact over in Kenya. So yeah, in Africa, we're not doing much right now.
Amy, maybe I can jump in. This is Melissa Grasso,
Sure.
and thank you so
Hi,
much for
Melissa.
your great comments and feedback so far. So let me address Sylvester's question and just to add, to flesh out a little bit of one of your earlier comments about working with the U.S. Commercial Service. So we have offices at U.S. embassies and consulates around the world, and they are staffed by American Foreign Service officers and locally engaged staff. So in our Lagos office, it's staffed by Nigerian citizens, and they specialize by industry. So depending on the industry that you're in, Sylvester, and to the other audience members, you would work with your local U.S. Commercial Service office in whichever U.S. state your business is located, and they could help connect you with our in-country offices in these various markets. So just to Sylvester's questions about the Nigerian market, what I would recommend is get in touch with your local U.S. Commercial Service office. They'll make an introduction to our office in Lagos, and you could have a conference call where you talk about what are your specific products, what are your goals for the Nigerian market, and then have a conversation about, well, what are some factors to consider when hiring a representative specifically in Nigeria based on cultural nuances of doing business there, business etiquette, those sorts of things. And I see you're in Maryland. I did drop in the chat a link to our contact us page. So we have an office in Baltimore, and so I'm sure they'd be happy to work with you, and we can make that connection after the webinar as well.
Great. Thank you, Melissa. Appreciate that. So are there any other questions from any of the attendees? And in the meantime, just let everybody know, just as a reminder, that I will be sending out the slide deck as well as the recording, and will include contact information in that correspondence, which will come out to you hopefully early tomorrow morning. And then in the meantime, if anybody wants to go back through the chat, there's also the link to our website, as well as the contact us page, which Melissa mentioned. If you go there, then you'll be able to identify who the specialist is in your state for your particular industry. All right, well, I don't see any other questions coming in at this point. So I want to thank Amy for her presentation today and sharing all these wonderful insights, how you've created such a wonderful network and support system for your distributors, which of course in turn increases Beakley's sales. And US jobs, and that's really important to all of us. So I'm going to disconnect at this time and appreciate everybody's time and for joining us. And if anybody has any further questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us, and we're happy to support you any way we can and also provide you with additional information about the U.S. Commercial Service and the support services that we provide. So thank you, everybody, and have a great day.
Thank you very much.
And before I forget, I almost did. I just wanted to mention that we have multiple sessions going on throughout the month of October for Manufacturing Month. So please look forward to our other programs as well. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.